The Colgate tournament culminates here with a Raiders squad that hasn't lost at home in 26 different tries dating back to 2021, almost 2 years ago to the day. Last time Colgate lost at home, it came to an Ivy League opponent in Princeton on September 10th, 21. Now it's September 9th, 2023, and a different Ivy League team waltzes in Cornell. For ESPN Plus from Hamilton, New York at Cotterell Court, I'm Jesse Cook alongside Griffin, Della, Penna, and Colgate has yet to lose at home. Colgate also has yet to lose in this tournament. Cornell has yet to win.
Well, I think the biggest thing for Colgate is coming back home. Coming into this tournament, they were on a 4-game losing streak, Jesse, and for some reason being back here might have just had a little bit less tension and the confidence that that team needed. However, on the other side, Cornell, 5-game losing streak, so maybe we're going to see something else. They're in Central New York. They'll be back home next weekend, but you'd like to have the end of this tournament go well if you're the Big Red.
Especially following a loss earlier today, where it seemed like at any point Cornell could have taken the lead, could have taken that advantage over UAlbany. In that game, which started at 11 a.m., every single set was decided by 2 points.
Well, that's going to be huge for them moving forward. Also in their 6 matches so far this year, as Cornell comes in with a 1-5 record, they're still looking to win set number 1. They have not done that yet this year, and I think that would also just be great for the girls to be able to go into set number 2 already having that lead and being able to have that confidence.
This game is underway with a service error from Cornell. Della Ozalp has only her 3rd error of the season from the service line, and that gives the first point to Colgate.
And that's something that has been the thorn in the side of Cornell all year long, is errors racking up, not just attacking, but also on the service line.
Rachel Martinez's serve is answered by Cornell with a point.
It's a good side out there, especially after starting off the match. You want to go out and string along some points, but I think that Cornell is going to be ready to play against Colgate here today.
Yeah, is it like they're warmed up now, having played earlier?
I think it can go one of 2 ways. It could almost be you're too drained because they went the distance earlier, but with the team on a 5-game losing streak, there's no time to be wasted.
Kate Straighton gets blocked at the net. Frances Torres shows up early.
Frances Torres, but you also have to highlight Sophie Thompson, the middle blocker, being in the vicinity, coming over from the middle and making sure that there's a double block. Always makes things difficult for the opposing hitter when they know that there's 2 defenders in their face.
Well, Sophie Thompson is a difficult player to play against, standing all of 6'2", one of the taller players on the court. That lands. Colgate up 3-1.
I love the quick set in the middle. We've talked about that on on Thursday against WVU, and especially with Sophie Thompson in the middle. She has that range and court awareness where she can plunk it anywhere in the back row.
They don't need Sophie Thompson on that point. Claire DeWine with a service ace.
It's good to see from DeWine as well. She had 3 service errors on Thursday against WVU, but gets one early here.
And that's her first ace of the season. So that goes the way of Colgate. Looked like that hit the antenna on the way up, and that can't happen. So Colgate is off to a roaring start. Eliza Convica's shot answered by DeWine. Rachel Martinez, the libero, fires it back to her libero counterpart in Sarita Pomar. Here's Jillian Hostschold. Now Convica again, saved by DeWine for the 3rd time in this play. Colgate takes it with a 5-point lead in set number 1.
You gotta love the intensity right now and also the pace of Colgate. You're seeing Claire DeWine get the ball and she is ready to go. A lot of the time when a team's on the ropes, you see how a Cornell player trying to slow down the tempo, and smartly to do so right now. I think if you're Sydney Moore, to try to just stop the bleeding inside out.
Well, Sydney Moore was great earlier today with 10 kills against UAlbany. She tried for 1 there. Convica's shot. It lands.
That was much needed for the Big Red. Really needed to get back to the service line, and now going to see Sarita Pomar for Cornell and try to regain some of those points back.
Wow! Sophie Thompson found every hole in the Cornell defense for the score.
Another slide attempt, and we're going to see Taylor Signa now come in to serve, but with Thompson finding the weak spot in the defense, the back row was almost bleeding up a little bit towards that 10-foot line. You have to have that spatial awareness and realize that if everybody's cluttered towards the middle, it's going to be very easy for that opposing attacker to actually get a kill.
So Colgate has been really strong up on the net with those blocks. How can Cornell maneuver around that and start to gain some traction?
You're going to have to switch up your approach. Right now we're seeing a lot on the opposite side. You need to get to the middle, as you just saw right there. Some different looks, some different rotation, players coming in and out. I think that's going to do well if you're Cornell.
And someone who has done well for Cornell is Eliza Konvika. Her serve is answered by Colgate. Konvika had a great first game with 10 kills. That point also goes to Cornell.
Yeah, that's just a communication error right there between DeWine and Taylor Signa. She was in the back row ready to go and almost went a little bit before and in front of Signa, just did not know, and it results in a point.
That service error hands the ball back to Colgate. Now, someone who we have not heard from a whole lot in this tournament is Carly Rezatarski. She's back on the floor for Colgate. Or she was a moment ago, and she barely played during the first two matches, seeing a lot of time in the first set against West Virginia on Thursday and not so much yesterday.
And to finish that, as Cornell picks up another point, biggest reason why is she was just not being efficient. She was getting force-fed in that first set against WVU. A lot of errors were racking up, and then for the rest of the match, she did not play. However, yesterday against UAlbany, she did have 4 kills in all 4 attempts, so just trying to get her, I would say, slowly back into the rotation.
And isn't that inefficiency so surprising for her? She enters this game with nearly 80 kills, 79 kills for Rezatarski.
Yeah, leading the team, and also if you look at her season average right now, it is pretty respectable. It's still under 200, but with the amount of volume that she's got over the year, you're not going to really expect her to be around that 300 mark. Regardless, one of your best players, you want to have her on the opposite side, and I think you will as we transition deeper into this match.
Martinez brings it back. Taylor Signa had the save. Cornell trying to kill it, and they do.
That's just the difficult spot right there on a free ball attempt. Cornell is then in the driver's seat because your blocking assignments are off, while Aiken didn't have the opportunity to come over from the middle and make sure that there was a double block.
Cornell has very loudly crawled back into the conversation here in this first set. It was a big 5-point lead for Colgate earlier, now just 1. Konvika, her slam, tied up at 8.
Another sideline approach, and even with Konvika in the back row, they still feel confident enough that she can get some kills from that area. That just goes to show that she is a very dynamic hitter, especially on the far side.
She's been dynamic this season, leading the team in kills. Last season, she was the leader as well with 225.
Julian Hoffchild just stuck up there. Cornell, a pretty good blocking team, not to the caliber of Colgate, but these are 2 of the best blocking teams out of the 4 that are here for the Ellis Rowland tourney. So I think that's also something to keep your eye on defensively throughout the rest of the match.
Colgate is a team that leads the Patriot League in blocks per set with 2.5. Straightens service error, ties the match back up at 9 apiece here in this first set.
Sydney Jones back to serve. Played very, very well against the Mountaineers on Thursday night. Had 28 assists, and looking at earlier today, tacked on 15 more with 4 digs.
Well, she sets up for the serve. There's Ozal for Sion. Yes!
First time so far today from Jada Sion, we've seen that cross-court approach. It's a very small angle of attack, but when you get it down, it's so hard for that opposite side player in the front row to get there in time. Worked beautifully there by the Big Red.
We saw Sion load up in that lower left corner against UAlbany earlier today for those cross-court type of shots, and it worked without fail.
That was a great job there by Taylor Signa, bending down, recognizing where the back line actually was to make sure that Colgate could get the ball back on the service line.
Well, it's always a tough call, and we know that head coach Ryan Baker will not shy away from the challenge. He put through 3 challenge tries in the first set against UAlbany last night, and all of them were successful too. Answered by Ozalp. Here's Parita. Blocked right at the net. Still goes Colgate's way because that found its way out of bounds.
Yeah, past the near sideline, but still the blocking assignments are there right now. You just want to make sure that you're tilting your hands in instead of towards the antenna.
Sydney Moore into no man's land.
I love that play, especially as they're going towards the boundaries and there's that soft spot in the defense right in the middle of the floor. You don't have to overpower it and hit straight down. Even if you have a little bit more of a lofty shot and a roll shot, you can still get the job done.
And we saw UAlbany's Elisabeth Papayorio put on 2 of those in crucial moments in the first match earlier today. Slammed back. How about that for Cornell?
Konvika right there recognizing, okay, we just had everybody come up towards the net. Weren't sure if we were going to have a 50-50 ball, especially in the back row. Carly Rezatarski was playing way up on the 10-foot line. That's an easy kill for her.
And how easy is that to recognize in the heat of the moment when you're Cornell?
When you have as many reps as there's a huge block by you-know-who that we were just talking about, you're hitting constantly, and you can, over time in your college career, recognize those different angles and those different spots of the court that are your go-to places. From a player on the opposite side, that's a 10 times out of 10 easy chance for her to get a kill.
Not so easy here. Cornell keeps it alive, and Sion finishes it off.
I love seeing Sion, how she's rotating her shoulder. She's getting around to make it easier to go straight down the line. Something that Colgate's going to have to do is make sure that they're getting farther out on that blocking assignment towards the pin. If they're not, she's going to continue to do that.
Jones sets up for Overmeyer. Ticked off the net and found its way out of bounds. So Cornell elevates its lead to 15-11, and that takes us to the mid-set break. We'll be back in just a moment. The Big Red leads 15-11 over the Raiders in the first set here on ESPN.